When I started to work on my book, Knitting for Kittens, I felt the need to address yarn safety. And I've had a lot of people suggest to me that loom knitted toys or crocheted needle knitted toys are unsafe for cats. This is not true. Despite what is often depicted in the media, yarn is incredibly unsafe for cats. It's unsafe for two major reasons. First, if it's eaten, it creates an issue known as linear foreign body. And not to go into a lot of technical detail, but essentially one part of the yarn can anchor inside your cat while the rest of the yarn continues to be pulled by the digestive system. When this happens, the intestines can bind, fold, or even tear. So if your cat ever eats yarn, consider it an emergency situation and take or consult your vet immediately. The second reason yarn can be unsafe is because cats can get tangled in it and strangle themselves. For these reasons, you need to keep yarn away from your cat. But that doesn't mean that a knitted or crocheted toy is unsafe, because when you knit or crochet with yarn, you create a fabric. And this fabric can be safe for cats, provided it doesn't unravel or break. For that reason, when making a cat toy, I recommend you always secure the ends with knots and use super glue to keep the knots from coming undone. But keep in mind, not all yarns are created equal. So let's talk about what yarns are good and why. All yarns are assigned a weight. The weight is found on the label by a number inside a little skein of yarn. When you are loom knitting, you're going to use either bulky, which is number 5, or super bulky, number 6 yarn, unless you're knitting on a special loom. These yarns are on the thicker end of the scale, which tends to make them stronger and more durable than other types of yarn. But this isn't always the case. Before purchasing a yarn for cat toys, I like to do a stress test, where I take the yarn in both ends and I pull it as hard as I can to see if I can break it. Believe it or not, some yarns, especially the baby yarns, like yarns made especially for like baby blankets, don't hold up to this test. And I stay away from those yarns. I've also knitted toys and then tossed them into the washing machine with a load of laundry. If it still holds up, then I know that both my knitting and the yarn is tough. My two favorite traditional yarns are Softee Chunky and Charisma. Softee Chunky can be found at most craft stores and even in the craft section of Walmart. It runs on the lower end of the super bulky and is 100% acrylic, which makes it very strong and machine washable. In 2022, when I did this video, the yarn was running about $5 a skein, which breaks it down to about 7 cents a yard. Charisma is very similar to Softee Chunky, except it is slightly thinner or lighter. It falls under the bulky weight. It is also 100% acrylic and costs about 5 cents a skein. However, the skeins are larger, so it breaks down to about 4 cents a yard. It is found only at Michael's, but it does come in a lot of colors. Another favorite of mine is Bernat Blanket. I tend to use it more for bedding than I do for toys due to the texture of it. It is 100% polyester and it costs about $12 a skein, but that breaks down to only 6 cents a yard. Bernat also came out with a blanket pet version, but I don't like this as well as I do the traditional because it is a lot thinner. If I can show you here the difference between the two. The red is the pet version, and the orange pink is the regular version. So you can see this is thicker, so it comes out to a much cushier bed and stuff. So so I don't like it. They also have some faux fur yarns on the market, and while you'll like the end product, you'll find knitting with it be very tricky. But you have to be careful before you pick a faux fur yarn because they're not all created equal. This is an example of one that I purchased at Hobby Lobby, And while it looks good and it even says that it is a bulky yarn, when you look at it closer, you'll see that it's actually just really thin yarn. And so it's not really thick enough to make a good product. In order to use it, you would actually have to double it up with a real yarn. And as you can see, I haven't used it. One of my favorites is this Hygge by Red Heart. If you look at it closer, you can kind of see it has this nice little fuzzy, it's very soft textured. It comes in a lot of colors. It's easy to find. I think I purchased this one at Walmart, but I've seen it at other places as well. And it's costs about $12 a skein, but that breaks down to about 6 cents a yard. So it's fairly inexpensive. But if you want to go with a even fuzzier yarn, I recommend this Lion brand Go for Faux by Lion brand. It's thick enough to stand on its own. It is more expensive. It costs about $9 a skein, but that breaks down to about 37 cents a yard. So quite a bit more than the other yarns I've given you, but as you can see, it is really fuzzy. Now this is just the tip of the iceberg on what yarns you can use. Just remember to test the yarns and supervise your cat for the first few times it's playing with the toy with any new yarn. It's always better to be safe rather than sorry. If the toy becomes worn, toss it out. No toy is worth your cat's life. Thank you for watching my video. If you like this video, I encourage you to check out my channel for more loom knitting toys as well as other crafts you can make for your pets. And pick up a copy of my book, Knitting for Kittens, Learn to Loom Knit by Making 25 Cat Toys. It is available on Amazon and the links are in the description.